What's up, guys? I'm meteorologist Andrew Myers, bringing you guys live coverage right now for a storm going through Midland, Texas. Currently warned and passing through the city, and we've got MPing reports on the ground of up to 3-inch hail right now. So we've got a purple swath already in action with our mapping team as we're continuing to track this storm. We've also got storms heading out of the San Angelo area and more in South Texas to go around. So Texas is definitely blown up and is seeing some action with some large hail as well as some gusty winds here and there with these storms as they continue to develop through the western part of the state and through the central part of the state. So if we want to just zoom on into San Angelo and or to Midland and just get right down into the nitty-gritty here of what's going on. Here's our storm. Now it's going to look a little funky because we're right up on the radar, right? So I mean, it's going to look like a weird shape, but you can see the hook of the storm heading into Midland, and that's where we're getting that large hail as we're moving through the city here today. Okay, so let's take a look so far at what we've gotten from our storm reports, and then we'll kind of walk you through how it's developed over time for the past few minutes here. So quarter report coming in on the far northwestern side of the city, and then there's our tennis ball report as we get closer to Midland, and these are coming from the hook of the storm, right where that inflow is really dominant into the hook. And then as that continues to lift up that hail, it's going to continue to grow and drop those big stones moving through Midland right now. So I mean, rocking it back and forth a little bit in time, you can see kind of how it develops as it moves towards the city here. So once we get farther away, we can see that inflow notch better on the storm. A couple areas there as it continues to head towards the city. We've got that nice warm air being pulled up into the storm, and as it goes, it's continued to develop and continue to grow, and so now we're seeing that large hail associated with it as it passes into Midland. Is this a new report?
Yep.
So we got, like I said, MPing's up to 3 inches. This is a golf ball right now, so definitely producing some large hail. Let's get our CCs for the whole storm here and just see what's happening as we continue to rock through. All right, so right here, this is where all our hail is happening, where you get that high reflectivity coupled with this lowering in our correlation coefficient. That just means that there's a bunch of different sizes and shapes of the particles in the air, which usually means hail. So that's where we're getting our quarters to half dollars through the area where we're seeing those yellows. And then once we get down further into the city, where that inflow is, where this rotation marker is, and where these large hail markers are coming out of, that's where we're getting our larger hail through the area here. So again, it's going to be a little bit fuzzy because we're just right on top of the radar, but again, we've got an area of rotation here that's pulling all of that nice large hail up into the storm and dropping, like I said, purple swath-worthy hail over baseball size. So it's probably going to be pretty isolated with that baseball-sized hail as it is in the hook of the storm, but we are seeing pretty consistent severe hail with this moving through the city. Let's zoom all the way into the hook and get those roads on there for the largest hail right now. So here we are on, let's see, I have to turn around because my eyesight's a little poor, but West Well Street here. So if you guys are on West Well Street and then up to, and that looks like 349, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but Well Street and 349, that's where the hook of this storm is passing through. And, you know, there's those nice blues and greens, those CCs dropping like it's hot, honestly, like as we continue to see that hook pass through, and that's where we're getting those golf balls with a lot of that, and then we're going to see again isolated up to baseball size or larger with this storm. So backing on, back out, again, you can see that nice inflow region, and then the rest of the storm wrapping on around that. And then it looks like we're getting quite a few MPing reports that are showing up, a few spotter reports, so golf balls there. I think we looked at that one, more golf balls. So it looks like this is predominantly going to be anywhere from quarters to golf ball sized stones with isolated large hail up to 3 inches in size. So plenty of golf balls to go around. What's it warned for right now, Frank?
Let me bring the query back up.
Okay, so warned for 2.5 inches, 70 miles an hour. I think that's pretty apt here. Is Dallas going to get hit next? So we're waiting for this to continue moving eastward. Once things move past West Texas and into Central Texas, looks like it's probably going to band up. and we can take a look at the overall structure of everything once this moves out of Midland. But Dallas does have a chance later tonight. So here's our next radar frame. As we continue off to the east, now we're starting to move out of Dallas along the 20 corridor here. Still get that nice inflow there where we see this rotation marker here. And then where you see the storm kind of curve like that, that's all that nice humid and hot air getting pulled up into the storm, sucked up. And then that causes all that humidity to just ramp up and then, form into hail. San Antonio, you guys actually did get a storm, or no, I think that was San Angelo that did get a storm. But again, this is going to continue off to the east towards the San Antonio and Dallas areas. So let's jump out. Let's take a look at what everything is going on, and then we'll zoom back in on a couple of our storm areas here. So for you guys who are curious about the various areas getting affected here. So here's that one storm that's passing through, and then we've got this section that's starting to band up all the way from San Angelo, near just between Abilene and DFW, down to San Angelo, down to Sonora. All these started out as isolated cells, but now they're starting to cluster up together as they track eastward. And so we're seeing all risks possible with this system as we continue to see hail with some of these. And now they're starting to get rotating again. And once they band up, then we'll have a primary wind threat as well. So if you guys are in any areas east of this, to Waco, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, this band is going to probably be getting into full swing as it moves towards you guys over the next few hours. So stay tuned to that for tonight. But for now, we've got San Angelo in the mix, and we've got Midland. And Midland is where we're getting hit right now for a metro area. So jumping back down into Midland, again, we just got that new radar frame, and you can see the structure of this storm is just what I'm geeking out over right now. Is you get that widening of the reflectivity right there, and then it narrows, and you get that inflow notch, and that's just the indicator of a strong supercell as it continues over Midland, Texas. So large hail in play. We do see some rotation on this, and let's actually pull up. I don't know how well it's going to show up because we're so close to the radar, but I do want to see our velocities here. And you can see where the red's trying to meet the green, but right now it's very broad rotation. So fortunately for you guys in Midland, like I said, very broad rotation on the storm. It's trying to circulate, however, it's not tightening up enough to drop a tornado yet. So we're watching the hook of the storm for that large hail right now as our primary threat, and we've definitely got some winds that are packing a punch with the outflow of this storm. However, no tornado threat immediately right now. So we're just watching this for large hail. So going back to correlation coefficients for the storm, here's our $1 to $half area that we saw before, shifting off to the east towards the I-20 area. And again, if you guys have pictures, if you have photos or videos and you're in Midland, feel free to send it to us. You can DM us on our Facebook or Instagram or YouTube as well. I think you can message us on YouTube. Send it to us and you can actually be featured on our video as well. We'd be happy to show that, and that helps us out a ton. So $1 to $half through the area heading towards I-20, and then again down towards the southern section of the storm where you see that more concentrated area of greens and blues and yellows. That's where we're seeing that large hail that's again isolated through the area. It's going to be mostly $half to golf balls, but again, some isolated hail up to baseball size with that hook of the storm as it continues off to the east. And we're continuing to see, reports coming in through the Midland area for large hail for Midland proper as this continues to track eastward, and it's not losing intensity yet. Okay, so that latest one was a tennis ball-sized hailstone near East Loop 250. So let's rock it back a little bit to when we were over Midland, and we can try to piece together where the largest hail was as it hit the proper part of the city. Right now it's on its way out, and it's still dropping large hail, but you can see the curvature of the storm there. There it is as it moves over 349. It's getting plenty of an inflow, plenty of an updraft, and that's helping form that large hail. So there it goes over Midland proper. That's when those reports start to come in. And so the southern side of this storm is where we're going to see the largest hail present, and then severe hail all the way up north to the intersection of I-20. And I don't know if you can tell what that is, Frank, this road up here. Sorry. Let's see. But
that's the warning.
Oh, this is the warning. Oh,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't help me a lot. Well, right across I-20 where we see these reflectivity values start to taper off, that's where our severe hail is being pushed all the way up to. So broad area of severe hail on this storm, but the bulk of it, the heaviest, the largest stones are going to be on the far southern side of the hook. All right, so there's those greens, there's those yellows. That's where those ping pong to golf ball sized stones are going to be prevalent, and then again up to probably tennis ball sized stones. Got a couple areas where, you know, CCs are dropping pretty low. However, again, it's right up on our radar, so it's pretty hard to tell. But a couple pockets of large hail here crossing over I-20 and 158. So if you guys are along 158 near I-20, severe hail heading towards your area, a lot of that is probably going to be larger than $50, at least probably ping pong balls, golf balls, and then a couple of those could be even larger. So not a whole lot of
Doesn't
local
look like we have
roads.
the roads loaded up for this
For
area,
Midland?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere in this corridor from I-20 to 138, this pocket right here is really what I'm watching for some large hail. So if you want to do a CC scope over that,
Yep.
you can kind of talk about that a little bit. I feel like the CC scope is showing up a little better than just the overall CCs. But there we are. There's that pocket of large hail that's falling associated with the hook of this storm, as well as the secondary area. So, you know, if you're along I-20, you're going to get one round of severe hail. It's not over after that. Okay, so there's this other one that's following behind it. And with that, again, you could still see large hail. So once this first round is out of the way, stay tuned. There's more. You know, there's a couple of rounds of severe hail and heavy rain following through, so just definitely stay tuned to what's happening with your weather as this continues off to the east. Can we get a storm track going on this, and we'll talk about a little bit about who's going to be impacted. It should be moving more into rural areas by now, starting to make its way out of Midland, fortunately. But, you know, as it moves off to the east, we can see, okay, so it's Forsan, Midland, Stanton. You guys are all in the warning. If you are in the warned area, again, this is a very broad area of severe hail with this storm, as well as some gusty winds. So, you know, you definitely want to take this very seriously as it continues to progress. Moving 30 miles an hour to the east, so it looks like the only city that's going to be impacted as it continues out of Midland is going to be Sprayberry. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, but Sprayberry at 6 p.m. looking like it's going to head into your area. So slow-moving storm, but moving through a very unstable environment. So we'll have to see if it continues with, you know, that severe risk as it tracks eastward. Now, as for the rest of Texas right now, we've got Midland, that storm's finally moving out of the way. We've seen severe hail through the Andrews area. We see, it looks like we got some hail reported in Lubbock with this unwarned area of storms. DFW, you guys are coming later tonight as the system continues to track east. It's looking like it's going to continue to be an intense storm system. However, it looks like it's also going to probably band up a little bit, so that'll taper off your hail chance or your hail size probability. So you could still get some severe hail, but also likely you'll get some gusty winds with that as it tracks over the DFW corridor, Waco, San Antonio, anywhere in east central Texas. Then down to San Angelo, we've had this round of storms that's continued to move off. It looks like we have one that's still warned through the area as it continues to progress through Brownwood. And with that, you know, these have all had a history of producing some severe hail. If we just pan through, this one reported for $50, and then through San Angelo, just on the south side of the city, we got some larger hail with that as well. Lake Nasworthy, 1 inch, and then off towards San Angelo, got some severe hail as well. I think that's from earlier. I don't know what that report south of San Angelo
That was the quarter report.
Oh, that was a quarter report? What's
I think
this one?
the storm was long enough ago where those reports aren't showing up.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this whole system has continued, like I said, it started out with those isolated cells, and that's what dropped the large hail just to the south of San Angelo. But then as it pushed off to the east, now we're seeing it start to band up. And that's kind of what we're hinting at for you guys in DFW. It's going to kind of follow this pattern. where we'll see those large hail chances, which is what we saw south of San Angelo. And then as it tracks east, now we're getting more reports for quarters to $half as we start to see that storm mode kind of weaken in hail intensity and pick up in wind intensity with that band. So this is all moving out of San Angelo and, you know, towards central Texas here. Midland was really the only storm in terms of metro areas that's being impacted right now. And if we jump back into it, I'm not sure if we've gotten a new radar frame that's updated with this storm. It looks like we have. You know, still got that really nice shape to it where you get that kind of that Y shape with the hook, and then it spreads out up to the north, just, you know, kind of flinging all of that severe hail up to the north. Looks like we could be tapering off on size just a tad. Got quarters to $half through the area. Likely still doing ping pong to golf balls, but again, the isolated nature of that 3-inch hail, it was already going to be pretty isolated, and as it tracks eastward, it's looking like it's starting to taper down a little bit on the frequency of that large hail. So continuing off to the rural areas, Midland, it looks like we are out of the thick of it, out of the worst of it for you guys in Midland proper. Do we have any pictures, Frank, that have come in?
I can check.
Okay, we're gonna check and see if we can get you guys some ground reports of what happened other than just our LSRs here. But you know, as this continues, fortunately it's moving into more of a rural area. And so, you know, if we do see this start to spin up, it's moving out of the Midland area. So again, if you guys are watching this from Midland, you know, probably still seeing some loud thunder, some loud lightning. If you are, or some loud lightning, be loud thunder in Midland proper. But in terms of storm intensity, you know, you were initially seeing that large hail and some gusty winds, but as you're on the back end of this system now, looking likely that, again, it's just going to be pretty loud out there, heavy rain, but you should be decreasing in intensity of the storm as it continues to shift off to the east and out of your way. Anything, Frank?
I'm looking for, is this from today? We have a chat that's dedicated to this.
Oh, Steve's going to send us a photo.
I'm about to get sent a photo.
Got our mapping team that's been working on it, as well as, you know, the rest of the office has been watching, see if we can find anything that's been reported at the ground here.
Justin sent this one. Let's see if this will bring it up.
I'll go ahead and get off so you can show.
There we go.
Nice.
Those look to be about golf ball size. Maybe one of those is a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Oh, am I on yet?
You're on, yeah.
Okay. I think you got you got to turn the key on.
That photo I just sent in there and left is off of Briarwood. I'm not sure how long Briarwood is, but
South of Briarwood. What size was that?
pretty big.
Pretty big, Steve says.
Okay, there it is.
Okay, you want to show it? I'm going
Yeah,
to disappear
bring
for
it
a
on
second,
now.
if you can. Where is Briarwood in Midland? Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a pretty substantial hailstone there. What
That's
would you
a
say
large
that is?
hailstone
Like,
right there. Yeah.
that's like larger than baseball, it seems, depending on things. Yeah, that's crazy. So there you go. There you have it. Definitely verified large hail through the Midland area with this storm as it tracked eastward and out of the way. Moving it more into the rural parts of Texas now, and then, you know, we're waiting to get fully out of Midland. We've got, you know, a second round that looks like it's warmed and going to come through the city here. Do we want to check the CCs on the second round, just make sure it doesn't surprise us with more hail as it tracks through Midland? Doesn't look like it has that same shape as the first one. Also, it looks like the radar might have wigged out a little bit. Probably doing some quarters, $half as it moves through. But again, it doesn't have that super classic supercell structure that we saw with that first storm as it tracks through. It's trying, but it's not as intense as that first one yet. So we're going to continue to watch this and just make sure that this one doesn't do anything crazy before we, sign off here. So if you guys have any reports for us, again, that are out of the Midland area or anywhere in Texas, drop them in the comments. You guys can email us your pictures at media@hailtrace.com. Or DM us with any info that you guys have from the ground, because that helps us verify all this weather that's happening right now through the West Texas area. It's a continuously developing situation. So watching this as it continues to track southeastward towards Midland once again. So back to what I was saying before, if you guys are in Midland, you guys had that loud period of time with that severe hail, with that gusty wind, and all the works as this continued to push eastward. But you had that first round, then that second round. It's still not over with that third round that passed through. So Georgetown, Texas, yeah, fingers crossed. I'm gonna have to clarify for me where Georgetown is.
It's near Austin.
Near Austin? Okay, yeah, you guys are in the risk if you're near Georgetown, Texas. So definitely stay tuned along that whole 35 corridor for this system as it, passes through and bands up. But you saw the progression of the storm right there. As it continues to track through, it looks like we've got a series of cells that are passing through the West Texas right now. Along 385, we got a couple more through the Andrews area. I know that those had a history of producing some large hail as well earlier. So, gonna continue to watch all of these. The environment right now through the area, guys, is just so unstable. It's super cold aloft, so when you get those strong updrafts pushing that water up aloft into that cold air, it's done. You got large hail, and that's what we're seeing in Midland right now. That's what we're going to continue to see with any of those isolated storms that can continue to sustain those updrafts is, pretty quick production of large hail. So moving just east of Lubbock, looks like we've got a tornado warning passing through with that, hook structure on that storm, as well as some severe hail. So if we want to query that warning here, we can talk a little bit about that. Again, it's going to be a constantly developing situation tonight in Texas as we see these storms continue to band up. So 1 inch hail is the warning. That checks out. You got a few spotty areas of bright reflectivity there, but really what we're looking at is this curvature. So if we look at our storm relative velocities, we can kind of talk a little bit about whether or not there's likely a tornado on the ground. Yeah, so if you look at right just to the east of Caprock here, where those bright greens meet those deep reds, and now where those bright reds meet the deep greens, that's where we get that really tight area of rotation. So if you guys were here a few minutes ago and we saw Midland, it was a pretty broad area of greens meeting a pretty broad area of red. That means the storm's rotating, but isn't really able to get that, fast rotation enough to drop a funnel. Now here's where we have that quick and tightened rotation there. And so if we look at our CC scope, starting to see some lowering of our CCs there. So it's possible that there's a tornado on the ground. Is this confirmed, or is it just radar indicated right now?
It was radar indicated.
Radar indicated. So and it is pretty rural. So going to continue to see that pass off to the east. Are there any specific cities that are in the track of this right now we can talk about?
It's moving east at 5 miles per hour. That's very slow.
Slow mover. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to bring it out far enough to hit a city.
Fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, moving east very, very slowly with this storm with a potential tornado on it right there. It looks pretty classic. It's hard to say for sure without eyes on the ground, but based on the CC couplet there, and based on the CC lowering there, and based on the velocity couplet, it looks like there's a likely tornado being produced out of this supercell as it tracks off to the east, as well as some severe hail along the north end of that. So powerful supercell leaving Lubbock. Fortunately, this is happening as it pushes out and away from the city. But more areas of hail to talk about throughout. It's going to be a loud night. It's going to be a lot of rain, a lot of gusty winds, thunder, the works, and now there's that hook hanging out on that storm as it continues to develop, tracking eastward. So definitely powerful supercell in Lubbock, and then, you know, got more of them throughout Texas right now. Second one heading towards Midland, and then we got, looks like a third one behind that. So Midland, you guys might have a few rounds of severe hail tonight with these storms as they continue to track eastward. You know, this one earlier had tried to look at that, to look like that first storm with, again, that classic supercell shape where you get kind of a C-shaped storm with that inflow, but it's starting to taper off on that hail size potential. CCs aren't looking too promising right now. You usually, when it's this close to the radar, you usually see them totally bottom out if there's any sort of severe hail. And you know, you see a little bit of that, so there could be a couple of isolated quarters or two, but it's not looking like a ton right now. That first storm was really, I think, the storm of the night probably for Midland. And as these keep tracking behind it, it's going to track into that area of cool air that was left behind after that first storm. So it's not really going to help these sustain themselves tracking into Midland, but there is always a chance, and that's why we're here for you guys. So watching that as it continues to move towards the city, and then we got another one behind that, and it's all over Texas right now. If we zoom all the way out, if people are just jumping in, we can kind of cover what's been going on throughout Texas for this afternoon and evening. So here we are for our view of central and western Texas. We've had supercells that initially developed in New Mexico and the far west part of Texas pretty quickly started dropping large hail. But now, as you can see by our current reflectivity, it's looking like it's going to be a lot of the windy and rainy small hail kinds of storms. So that's what we have moving out of San Angelo, moving out of Midland and out of Lubbock. Got all sorts of messy storms right now. We're kind of shifting in our storm modes away from that supercellular structure and more towards a gusty wind threat as well as a sustained tornado threat. So definitely still a situation that you want to monitor if you are in central Texas. You know, Midland, we're still watching you guys for severe hail. Anywhere east of San Angelo and Abilene, still got a shot right now for severe hail. However, again, as time moves forward, it's not going to help these guys. We're going to see the severe wind threat pick up and that hail size start to taper off. So let's see what these are doing down towards San Angelo, and then we'll check back in one more time on Midland and see how things are doing. And then, you know, we can kind of decide where to go from there. So looks like near Brownwood, I think Steve had said, was that the storm that Steve was talking about, Brownwood? Or am I getting turned around?
I think he was talking about a neighborhood in the Midland area.
Okay, all right, yeah. Yeah, so we got a Brownwood storm here, though, and we got a couple reports that came out of that. Ooh, that's doing large hail, though. So if you kind of broaden that scope a little more, can you make it any bigger? Oh, nice, all right. So here we go. So this is a classic large hail look on CCs and reflectivity. Where we get those yellows, that's where we see $quarters to $half, and then these greens, that's where, you know, we're starting to see the larger hail in the ping pong to golf ball, and then those blues, that's where we're getting probably purple swath-sized hail right there. And then if we clear out that CC scope, another good indicator of that is this. This is called a hail spike. Love to see those on radar if you're looking for large hail. So makes it really easy to find it and point it out. Frank's circling it right there. So what that is just the radar is bouncing off of something that has crazy high reflectivity, generally ice. And that's what it's doing right there. It's picking up some large hail out of Brownwood area and bouncing it back towards the radar, and with that, hail spike. So large hail definitely falling with this storm here as it continues. What was it reported on the southern side of the storm? I'm guessing it's probably going to be a little bit, golf balls on the far southern end near 77 here. And then I think we looked at that one possibly earlier, those $half sized stones. But now it's really starting to pick up. This storm is starting to increase in intensity towards Brownwood. If we zoom in, do we have roads on this?
I doubt it. It's fairly rural.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, not a big deal if we don't, but we'll still talk about it. But up towards 377, and it looks like 67. If you guys are south of 67, east of 377, that's where the large hail is falling right now with this storm. with a hail spike as it continues off towards 183. So large hail for you guys present right now in Brownwood, Texas, as that supercell continues to lead the charge. And then we've got storms developing out behind it. That's going to have gusty winds as well as some hail chances as well. Looking for a potential rotation there. It looks pretty broad. Once again, you guys saw what that really narrow area of rotation looked like up just east of Lubbock, moving away from Lubbock. So this one looks pretty broad right now, but we'll see if we can get that to possibly circulate a little bit faster, see if there's any tornado chances that might come out of that. Looks like not a ton of warnings coming out of the rest of the area there. It's going to be Brownwood and Midland are probably going to be our main shows for today, for right now at least, this Tuesday at 6 p.m. here. So if we want to jump back towards our Midland storm, see if that's done anything, developed any as it tracks eastward. So there's that first one, slowly moving out of the way. These are moving super slow, these storms. So you'll probably have some long hail times on them as they continue eastward. It's pretty hard to see this one now because it's all covered up by these LSRs. Nice. Looking like it's not too promising shape-wise or reflectivity-wise, or correlation coefficient-wise. So not a ton of severe activity to be thinking about with this storm just north of Midland. And then as that third one moves through, it's just not moving into a super favorable environment out behind it. So, and you can already see the hail size is starting to taper off on that. So we're starting to see that transition in storm mode happening right now with those storms transitioning from supercellular to linear. And that's when we see those wind and tornado threats start to pick up. So that's what we have for Midland right now. And then up to Lubbock. We'll see if that storm was able to produce a tornado. Still looking pretty good as it passes now south of Crosbytown, Texas. Still looking pretty rotational. It's looking like it's rotating as it passes south of Crosbytown, and you can start to see that little donut hole reflectivity. That's a crazy couplet here. Super bright areas of high reflectivities, and yeah, I mean, you got your CC lowering right where that correlates to. So it looks like there's likely a tornado that's being produced with this storm. Again, fortunately, it's pretty rural. It's moving away from Lubbock, so that is good to know. But again, if you are anywhere just to the east of Caprock, if you are in this warned area, take this seriously. Make sure you guys get to your safe place, and again, stay tuned into your weather as this situation continues to develop as it tracks off to the east. So watching that. For rural tornado chances up near Lubbock, not a ton happening near Midland right now. Frank, if you have anything else that you want to throw in there, if you've seen anything on MPings, now's the time to bring that up. But so far it looks like
I can check for Midland MPings real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you can see these storms are losing intensity as they follow the track of that first storm. That first storm, it's got all that instability, all that heat and humidity to ride off of as it tracks off to the east, and then it cools the air behind it. And so it's kind of killing off the storms that follow directly behind. So good for Midland if you're trying not to get severe hail. That's what you want to see as these storms progress. And then this first one is starting to look like it's getting a hook on it. Tracking off to the east, but again, fortunately, that is moving into a rural area, and so not a ton of people being impacted by this leading storm right now.
There are no recent MPings in Midland.
All right. Well, with that, I think if we don't have any pictures and it looks like these storms are starting to die off, probably leave you guys on that note here. Okay. And we'll come back if there are any other significant severe activity storms happening. But there you go. There you have it. Big hail in Midland, and we're going to keep you guys updated on any other storms that develop tonight through the DFW area if that happens. But for now, thank you guys for watching.